Hello, my name is Nahuna Alexandre. I am the founder and CEO of the Nahuna Haven for Minority Women Incorporated. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know it's been a while, so let's just get right into it. In my culture, there is the saying, fais quoi t'es en boule, pas jamais fait ça encore. And it translates to make a cross on the ground, kiss it, and never do that again. And that's just you vowing to yourself or you demanding of someone else that they cease doing something. So I had to make that vow to myself yesterday. And so this vow was about this idea of fear. Now, I'm not someone who gets intimidated ever, but I have been noticing that there's this little fear creeping up every now and then. And I'm just like, what is this? As a Christian, I shouldn't even have it. It shouldn't even be a part of me. And so I just had to relinquish that. So I let go of that yesterday, and I'm going to do my best to try and keep up with it. I did this because I just been doing a lot of introspection, and I've been really pondering what would it be like if this thing that I've been idolizing is no more. It's just coming to me that I would be the truest version of myself if I made a bigger effort to let go of this fear that doesn't belong to me. A few years ago, I encountered this teaching, and it was about the concept of territory. And unlike what we're used to when we hear the word territory, which is something geological, right? A place, like physical place that you lay hold of. This teaching was mostly like pushing past that generic definition of territory. So when I encountered this teaching, it was during a time in my life where there was a challenge that I was facing. And I believe encountering that teaching when I did really propelled me towards victory, because it just changed the way that I moved. Wow, that was thunder. It just changed the way that I moved as it relates to how I would attack this challenge I was facing. We all at this juncture are facing a challenge. When I think about how we got here, how we arrived to this place, as a community, as a nation, internationally, the conclusion keeps coming back. Territory, territory, territory. And I'm just like, okay. And I'm attempting to remember all of what that teaching was meant to pull for me, or the insight rather, all the insight that teaching was meant to give to me. And so this was years ago, and I remember only the parts that I really truly internalized during that time. And I feel like I internalized, it's like I filtered through the teaching I was getting, and I grabbed part of the message that really resonated with the answer that I needed on how to move through this challenge. Needless to say, I believe that this teaching is needed again. Like, it's needed, but like a revamped version of it, where it's for the here and now. Because that was years ago. Like, I don't even remember. Maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something along those lines. So I would love to get a fresh teaching on this idea of territory so that I don't know, I can get what I was missing, because I feel like something was there that I didn't catch. And so I just need to have that back again. And of course, I could go back and try and find the videos and stuff, but I don't even think they're there anymore. What I remember about this teaching was that there's territory that one gains, one keeps hold of, and one expands on, right? And it's more than geological territory. There's territory on the individual level, which is keeping your heart healthy, keeping your mind healthy and positive, keeping your body healthy, keeping your soul at its truest form. You're staying sanctified. In other words, you're living right. Then there is the territory of your family, which is keeping your family whole and happy and together. And then there's also your social life, which is getting a good group of friends around you, good people in which you're in community. And then there is the idea of the territory you keep and you expand as it relates to your educational goals and your career aspirations. You make sure that you pursue what you want and you accomplish the goals that you set for yourself. And not just accomplish it, if you can exceed it, even better. Then it was community territory, which really boiled down to what did it boil down to? The community part. The community part boiled down to not allowing anyone to come in and disrupt what you have so meticulously built. Those points are what I remember from that teaching and how I internalized it. Now, you could say that I was paraphrasing, because I'm sure that's not exactly how these things were said, but that's how I internalized it. So, but I do believe now, if we were to get a teaching on a territory, something about it would be more, we would get something different from it this time around. It's clear to see that a lot of us have given over territory, which is why we have ended up where we are now, where oligarchs can come in and, without consulting anyone, decide that AI is the new way to go. AI is the way of the future. And going and making settlements on other planets is the way of the future. Xenophobia and white nationalism is the way of the future. For years, it seems like no one really understood the gravity of the intentions of these people, and so no one really pushed back on this assault on humanity, basically, like life as we know it. Thus, I say there must be a way for us to position ourselves to reclaim that territory, because there is no purpose for trillionaires in our society. On another note, the past few months have been really sad because of a number of women dying, a number of Black women dying by femicide, and the perpetrators being their husbands. Then we have Black children who are being unalived, and we have all sorts of unnecessary violence against Black people as a whole. Black women are being retaliated against for voting in their interest. On this idea of keeping your territory, I'm a pretty radical person. And so that's just a disclaimer before I go and keep on, really fleshing this out. So here are some of the few things we're facing. Protesting injustice is akin to terrorism. Black women aren't safe. Black children are unable to defend themselves without losing their life to the criminal penitentiary system. Black women are being disenfranchised at record numbers. And you have what's going on with the Palestinian people and that genocide, where babies in NICUs were fighting for their lives while their hospitals were being bombed. What does it say about our society when it gets to a point where the lives of women and babies are not protected? Journalists are imprisoned for simply doing their jobs and reporting on what is taking place in our society. There's got to be a posture change. There's got to be a way for us as a community, us as a nation, internationally, to fight for the souls of our countries, to fight for our own souls by not staying quiet. Don't get me wrong, I do understand that there are some of us leaders who are in positions where if we speak up about these injustices, then we risk losing certain opportunities. And I get that. I get that is a very real price that you might have to pay for speaking up against injustice. But that's what we're here for. And the work that we have to do, that I'm attempting to do right now, is costly. It's not cheap. And that's what makes it valuable. Us being able to speak up about what we're seeing and what we're experiencing and how that's affecting us, the potential effects it has on our children and the community at large, the world at large. I know that my call is to speak up for what is right. I know it will be costly, but it would be worth it, because there are those who cannot speak for themselves. I implore you to stand up too. Stand with me and make your voices heard. That these injustices are not unseen, and they have real repercussions, and we will not tolerate it. Take action, because your fearlessness will inspire, it will convict, it will lead to change. Even if you don't get to see the change that you brought about, the next generation will. And so that simply makes it worth it. Ladies, keep your children close. Teach them how to navigate different circumstances, different groups. Teach them how to recognize danger and how to move around it and avoid it if possible, but definitely how to confront it in a way where they will get back home to you safely. The next thing that I implore you all to not do anymore is, please, if you are a Black man or a Black woman, do not serve on ICE. That degenerate group of enforcement for immigration is sick, and what they're doing is repulsive, and it really is terrible to see Black men on their line and Black women in their line fighting against what is just. And so please do not serve in those capacities. I understand times are hard, and some of you are just thinking about survival, but at what cost to your soul? The next thing is that Black men really should stop putting on suits and going to places like Soho to protect the assets of white men. And teach your children how to protect themselves after they've been racially profiled. Teach them how to navigate that. Teach them how to get around that and how to advocate for themselves. Just like you teach your children not to speak to strangers, teach your children how to recognize danger and how to understand when a group of people don't mean well for them and how they can best remove themselves from the midst of those people. Your children can still be social while being vigilant about their safety. Teach your children to be more self-sufficient. Really prioritize family time, spending time with family members. Make time for random family parties. How about you make it a job for your child to plan at least one family party for the year? That way they understand the importance of family. They get the necessary social skills that they need for their friends while they're still under the safety of your home. They will learn skills like the effort it takes to bring the family together, the proper and safe ways to celebrate, how to know when things are going left, de-escalation methods, and when to just call it a night, how to have fun without alcohol. There's no need to engage in drinking in order to have a good time, and your children need to be aware that deciding not to drink is their own personal choice, and they can make that choice and live up to that choice without being ashamed or without feeling like they're gonna miss out on anything. It's completely normal to decide you want to party and not drink. The idea of not drinking while you're in the midst of strangers is good, not just because, you know, this is a promise you're making to yourself, but also it keeps your mind sharp. It keeps you aware of your surroundings, the intentions people have for you, and you're more able to keep your body physically safe and to protect your reputation. Then it's important for your child to know that they can come to you and speak to you about whatever is on their mind, whatever questions they have, that they can rely on you to provide them with some answers, some guidance. Then, ladies, support your children in person as it relates to their extracurricular activities. Even if you cannot be there, make sure that someone else in the family is going there to not just to support them, but to supervise them and to chaperone the group of the friends. To end this thought, I have a couple of book recommendations, and I will put them here or here. So, the first book I would suggest you reading as a mom to just sort of understand what you should be teaching your child is I'm gonna say them in the order in which I read them. The first book is called How to Build a Fashion Icon: Notes on Confidence from the World's Only Image Architect, which is Law Roach. And one of my favorite quotes from this book is on page 135, where it says, "Love yourself in all states of yourself and be grateful for the place you are now." That was just such a little it was a really good reminder. Like, we all know we're supposed to be doing these things, but every now and then it's a good thing to be reminded, you know, just so you can pick up yourself a little bit. I believe that my daughter wrote on this, so I believe that this book is good for teenagers to read. And if you have a child, you can read it and just, you know, interpret it for yourself and for your child's needs. I believe this is a good book to do that. The next book is Knowing: The Journey to Certainty in an Uncertain World by Touré Roberts. And in this book, I have two favorite quotes. And the first one is on page 123, where the author writes, "Sometimes the hardest thing to leave behind is the version of you shaped by what tried to break you." And then the next one of my other favorite quotes is on page 183. I really love this one because I put a whole bunch of flowers next to it. And it reads, "Certainty doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. It doesn't eliminate conflict, chaos, or confusion, but it keeps those things from running your life." I really do. Those two are my favorite quotes. I mean, the book definitely goes down as top 5 for sure. Because this book really is what I would call a strengthener. When you read it, it just strengthens you to really see and analyze yourself, your moves, and really plot out the kind of moves you want to be making. Totally, as a mom, read this book and interpret it for yourself, see how it fits your life, see what you can gain from it to not only strengthen you but also strengthen your child. So I recommend this one too. When did this book get released? Oh, 2024. So yeah, and I read it the year it was released. So yeah. And then this book was just released in April, and also I read it when it was released. So those two books. And then right now, currently, when you call me, I will respond. Well, currently I am reading The Girl's Guide to Relationships, Sexuality, and Consent: Tools to Help Teens Stay Safe, Empowered, and Confident, by Leah Aguirre, licensed social worker, and Geraldine O'Sullivan, licensed social worker. I literally happened upon this book, and when I just flipped through it, like just a couple of pages, I was just like, wow. Yes, I learned some of these things on my own. Yes, my parents taught me other things, but this book is really, it has a lot. It touches on a lot of different topics that is very important in the life of a young girl as it relates to her development, the tools that she needs. I'm still currently reading it. I literally almost lost this book yesterday. And so I really enjoyed this book so far, and while I'm reading it, I don't have a favorite quote just yet, but I just keep having this thought of, I wish that I had discovered this book when I was a teenager. It's marketed towards teens, but this book was published more recently. I just wish that I would have had this book when I was a teen, because it would have empowered me. But now that I do have it, I'm going to read it just to, see what, I don't know. I want to see if the book can give me some new insights. As a mom, you can get the book and just open up the floor with your child so that they know when the time is right, of course. Like, don't start having these conversations too soon. Preserve their innocence. But let them know that the door is open for you to talk about anything that they're interested in talking about and they want clarity on, and your position on it, and how you believe that they should be, moving through the world as it relates to these topics. Because I do believe that these topics are pretty heavy. I would just say, just let your child know, hey, let's speak with respect. Remember that I'm your mom. You can ask me these questions, but phrase it in a way where, like, we both understand what you're saying, but my heart is not going to jump out my chest when you say it. So yeah, I really do think this is a good read. And even if you read it and you're like, oh, this is heavy and I'm not ready, think about it this way. When you finish reading this book, would you want your child to go and figure it out on their own, to be at the behest of some predator or some person who doesn't care about their well-being and their interests, or some random adult who doesn't care about their innocence and preserving their innocence? You be the first person to guide your child through these topics. Do not allow a random person to do that. That is your job as their mother. I believe the intersection of those 3 books is a very special place. So again, I would say when it comes to your child, when the time is right, don't allow certain topics to be taboo in your household or in the midst of your conversation. Have conversations about racism and what it looks like and feels like. Have conversations about religion. Have conversations about community, friendship, and how to navigate them. Have conversations about how your family is and what they want to see happen and change, and how, what changes they would like and what changes do you think could be made, and just have conversations about everything. Okay, keep me, Jesus. I know that some of you are in a season where you have been made to be seated, and I understand how tough that might be, especially if you are a woman who prides yourself on leading the charge. And here's what I want to say to you. Some of the battles that I've won and those that I've navigated successfully have been while I was seated. Being seated is also a position of kingship. You are still powerful even when you are seated. And I say that because your vantage point is different from everybody else who's fighting alongside you. You're made to be so low that you can clearly see when the opposition is buckling at their knees. You have the advantage of processing information differently because you were not able to be in the room when things were hot. And so you're able to approach situations with a fresh and untainted lens. I think that's a plus. Even if you are not at the moment able to have any assurances about what the future might hold, rest assured that you're still here and you're still a part of a winning team, and that's what's important. Take the time that you need to watch, to rest, to really understand all the dynamics of the things that are happening around you, and prepare yourself for when your coach calls you back into the game. I'm so excited to see how you guys all make it out, how you guys all overcome this big obstacle. While I totally understand how your heart could be questioning and wondering all these different things, which is fair, I understand, I've been there, just protect your heart and feel your feelings. Take the time to feel your feelings, but then come back and remember how fearless you are. Remember what that means to you and all that you have to offer, and which is really the most beautiful parts of you. Take care of yourself And remember how blessed you are. And I will see you.